I'm going to discuss today, continuing my deconstruction. I'm deconstructing a message that my father preached. He actually, you know what? I should grab the. I'm reading through my father's tracks, and right now I'm going through his friend's message based out of Proverbs 22. And we're going to try to get through this without croaking too bad, but Proverbs 22 verse 24, this is the verse, and I use the NLT translation. The King James translation says, make no friends with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go. I think it's one reason why the IFB likes the King James, because it's got those thou shalt nots. It's which I'm not saying that's inherently wrong. I'm just saying it just goes along with the whole power over mentality that we see in the legalistic groups. But the NLT translation, see, Proverbs 22:24, don't befriend angry people or associate with hot-tempered people, or you will learn to be like them and endanger your soul. Now that's what the verse is really saying. Now I'm gonna give you a clip of a message that was preached by my father, and this is a message that I heard thousands of times as a young man, literally thousands of times. And I guess I never really listened to the depths of it. And now that I'm deconstructing my life and studying things out, I decided I'm going to go through my father's material and actually listen to what I was taught and learn subliminally by listening to these messages thousands of times. Remember, my dad repreached this message over and 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 I'm gonna be a broken record, literally thousands of times. And I can kind of tell that it's not an original message just from listening to my dad preach it, because there's just mastered just repreaching the same thing over and over again. But anyway, let's dive into this and hold on to your lug nuts. All right, here it goes.
I received a telephone call from a pastor friend. He was very upset. He said, what do I do? What had happened was his teen daughter was approached by a woman in his church. The pastor was completely unaware. This was a disloyal woman, but the pastor was unaware. And she would say something like this to his teen daughter: sweetheart, looks like you've got a lot of rules in your life. Must be pretty hard. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm available. That evil, sinister undermining of that child. Now, that daughter should have gone running to her parents, but she didn't. She listened. And then that woman, she kept it up. This wasn't just an isolated occurrence. Only when no one was around would she do this. Until finally that young girl, well, maybe there are too many rules in our. Maybe it is kind of hard. She started actually believing what she had heard and left the home in rebellion. And that's when that pastor called, all upset, understandably so.
Favorite term. I
said, well, will she still go out to eat with you? And he said, well, yeah, she'd probably do that. All right. I said, pack her stuff in your trunk and head for Indiana. So they did that. You ever heard the expression, mad as a wet hen? That girl was so upset. Oh, my, was she upset. But then over a period of time, all the truth that godly mom and dad had placed in her heart started coming back to the surface. And there's a good sequel to that story. Now she's not only a pastor's daughter, she's a pastor's wife. She and her family all excited about the ministry. But my point is this: you just don't know where an evil influence is going to come from.
All right. I hope you haven't thrown something across the room yet. So you got to understand, that message was preached, that message was preached not just one time, okay? That message was preached thousands of times. I heard that sermon illustration. Oh my word! As soon as I haven't listened to my dad's stuff in 20 plus years, and I heard this, and it started coming back to me. I'm like, okay, I know what's next. I know what's next. And I actually almost started quoting him. Just a couple things out of this short little clip. That's a 2-minute clip out of a 45-minute message. 2-minute clip out of a 45-minute message, and literally, I've listened to this message now 5 times, and each time I go, oh my word, oh my word, oh my word, and I've got a long list of messages to go through. So, story of the lady at the church, and Dad's given different versions of this because there's actually different versions from different people that were dealt with over the years, and many pastors and many deacons and missionaries and parents spoke to my father on almost a daily basis, asking for help on how to parent their children, and that was the kind of counsel that my dad gave them. And so he became very famous for, well, your daughter's a rebel, your son's a rebel. I've referenced this a lot in the last couple of years. I've come out about the atrocious abuse and everything that happened at Hephzibah House and my home, the Williams family, and that was one of the favorite terms that my father uses. You are a rebel. My father loved to call you a rebel. I want you to notice that automatically one of the first things he said in that message is this lady was wicked. So why? And that's another term that's used a lot. Used wicked. They were wicked. They were wicked. They were worldly. They were evil. They were rebels. And so, what made this woman wicked? Let's just quickly touch on that. The first thing that he mentioned is she was wicked because she was disloyal. In other words, one of the standard themes that we're beginning to see within the IFB movement and other legalistic denominations, and we're seeing this across the board in denominational Christianity, is unquestionable loyalty. Loyalty is not just, it's demanded, it's required, and it's a part of the religious belief system. If you're not loyal, then you're out. And unquestionable loyalty. And because she wasn't unquestionably loyal, she's automatically wicked. The other is that the reason this lady was considered wicked, according to my father's words, is she attacked all the rules. Now, I know you got to be careful with this, because we do have a society where there's always and this is throughout history. We're just seeing history being repeated. But throughout history, there's always going to be an element of those who do not want rules. But you have to have rules. You have to have rules in life, or you have anarchy and chaos. I get that. I am not anti-rule. I'm not. But he's calling this lady automatically wicked because she, quote unquote, questioned the rules. And he said she was evil, sinister. This is words exact. Evil, sinister, and wicked for undermining that child. All the problem with this preacher's daughter was actually not the parents. All the problem was this wicked, evil, sinister, undermining woman. That was what my father was saying, and said over and over again. He said this in different variations and different messages. But there's always got to be somebody to blame, rather than accepting personal responsibility for bad parenting. Now, you got to remember that there are crazy rules within this religious system and other religious systems. And as teenagers begin to develop and grow, they begin to have questions. And you got to back up and remember that you're not allowed to ask questions within the Independent Fundamental Baptist movement. You are required to give unquestionable, submissive, obedient loyalty. And this was a common thing that my father always said. It has to be immediately, sweetly, and without question. Immediately, sweetly, without question. So you create robots. And so if you're not a robot, you're a rebel. That's the gist of of what's being taught here. And then obviously, if you're a kid, all the way up to or a teenager, and if you don't obey, they're going to beat the snot out of you. And that is, and you're like, well, that was just the Williams home. No, it wasn't. The only reason I'm even doing this is it's way beyond the Williams family. I get messaged every day, folks. People from different variations of independent fundamental Baptists, and we all have the same stories. We were horribly abused, physically, spiritually, emotionally, you name it. The abuse was rampant, and it was all done in the name of Jesus. It was all done in the name of God. So why do you think we're deconstructing? We're trying to figure out all this because something's wrong. So she attacked the rules. Well, there's got to be more to the story, right? There's always more of a story. What does it mean by attacking the rules? Because I was taught that you obeyed without question. But yet, so many of these rules didn't make sense, and some of them were actually very, very, very unhealthy. Rules. We were taught the rules that we had to obey were God ordained and God ordered. And you've got to, again, recall that the man is the prophet, priest, and king of that home. In fact, in this very message, there's an illustration that he gives us of my sister giving dad iced tea or something and treating him like the king he should be treated like. And that's another one we're going to cover. So there's this God complex in these men. They are the prophet, priest, and king of these homes. So now you got to think kingship. These guys thinking like kings. What did the kings in the old day do? You walked into remember Esther when she had to walk into her rapist, her king, in the book of Esther, and she had to make herself look, drop dead gorgeous, so he would put his scepter down and not have her head chopped off. And that's that kingship mentality, this power over, I am it, I am the bomb, and you don't question me or I'm going to lop your head off. Well, that was what these kings did. So when they're calling themselves prophet, priest, and king, they're calling themselves God. And they truly believe that they are a type and figure of God in your child's life. These fathers believe and teach that they are Jesus to your children, basically. Now, they'll, I'm not saying that. Well, then why are you saying you're the prophet, priest, and king of your home and you're a type and figure of Christ? Because you're not. So, just quickly, that woman was called evil, sinister, and wicked for undermining the child and attacking the rules. Now, obviously, we don't know the gist of all that, but there might have been something really crazy and stupid going on. I mean, look at the home I grew up in. I was getting horribly abused, but I couldn't say anything because that would have been attacking the rules. So what was the solution that my father gave this pastor? This is really, really intelligent. The solution was to lie, deceive, and trick the daughter. And basically kidnap their own daughter and drive her to an unknown location where she would then be taken out of the car, and she would be greeted by men who would help escort her up a long stairs into an office, and then she would be told to go into a bathroom while she's sitting there. Before she gets called in the bathroom, she's sitting there, and she's finding that her parents are signing away basically guardianship to some stranger in this room, this really big, tall, massive dude, and all these people are around, and you're trying to feel like, hey, I'm supposed to be going out to eat. Next thing I know, I'm blocked in a car and I'm being driven across the state, and I'm in here and I can't get out now, and I got these people standing here at guard and they won't let me leave, and there's these young teenage boys standing here look like they're the Gestapo. So now this dear girl is sitting there, and she's finding out that she can be spanked, and the paddle gets brought out bragging that it's legal to beat children in the state of Indiana under religious exemption laws. And there's a psych ops going on. And then this girl is then escorted into the bathroom, and she's told to strip her clothes. And she has to strip completely naked, go in the shower. All of her belongings are taken away from her. And then she comes out of the shower, and they hand her this, oh my gosh, ugly red and blue uniform that was a reject from the 50s. It was as a total act and means of demoralization. That garbage came from Lester Roloff. And then they would be brought down the stairs, then the next set of stairs, and then there's this deadbolted door. The deadbolt gets turned, they get brought in, And then the door gets locked back up, and now that girl is locked up in a basement that walks out into a fenced-in area with a 12-foot fence. And that is all because of this wicked woman that told her that maybe their parents' rules were wrong. That was the solution. Lock the child up in prison. Now, did you hear at the end of that conversation? I'm going to play it. I'll play it again here. See if I can get this correct. What does he say when this girl repents? See if I can get to that part of the clip.
Mad as a wet hen. That girl was so upset. Oh, why was she upset?
Wouldn't you be upset too?
Over a period of time, all the truth that godly mom and dad had placed in her heart started coming back to the surface.
So all the truth that their godly parents that just lied and deceived and kidnapped their own daughter was suddenly came back to the surface. In other words, this girl is on it. Well, hi. I have a visitor. She's bringing me a cup of water. Thank you, girls. I love my kids. And let's continue.
And there's a good sequel to that story. Now she's not only a pastor's daughter, she's a pastor's wife.
Not only is she a pastor's daughter, she's a pastor's wife. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! I mean, seriously. In multiple interviews over the years, in dozens of different scenarios and settings and situations, multiple scenarios, my father would say, well, your daughter didn't get brought here because, these girls don't get brought here because they sang too loud in the choir. They were rebellious. They were wicked. They were evil. So there was a constant dehumanizing and desensitizing. They had to dehumanize these girls to justify what they were doing in this reform school. And then the only ones that turn out are the ones that turn into godly wives and mothers. But not just that, because you have to be a wife and a mother or you're not godly, okay? But here's even the bigger catch. If you are a pastor's wife or a missionary's wife, I mean, that is literally, you've just become the Virgin Mary 2.0. I mean, that is literally how big a deal this is. I mean, you are it. You are the bomb. You are elevated to sainthood immediately. So you are now saint pastor's wife. Well, Ben, that's not what they're saying. That is what they're implying, and that is what they're saying, even if they don't know that's what they're saying. So she didn't turn out until she became a godly pastor's wife.
She and her family all excited about the ministry. But my point is this.
She's all excited about the ministry.
You just don't know where an evil influence is going to come from.
Just don't know where an evil influence is going to come from. Because, oh my word, everybody around you is wicked and evil, and they're all trying to undermine you and steal your children's hearts from you. So you have to isolate them and keep them from everybody. And then if the child begins to question things and something's wrong, let's lie, deceive, and let's slip them off to some reform school and dehumanize them, and then break them, completely just shatter them, and turn them into a robot where they're now going to become a godly wife from some pastor to knock up every 2 years, get a dozen kids out, wear out now, but that is godly. Oh my word, that is so godly. Whew. More to come.